Good day, good evening, comrades. Today, during the meeting, we will consider the current situation in the Special Operations War Zone. The Russian Federation, in its respective areas, will listen to the reports of the commanding troops, as well as to the tasks assigned to them. In addition, this week, the Russian armed forces conducted training of strategic offensive forces, during which all three components of the strategic nuclear forces of the Russian Federation were tested. Let's start working. The floor is yours, Valery Vasilyevich Gerasimov, Chief of the General Staff.
Comrade Commander-in-Chief, the troops of the Joint Group, during the Special Operations War Zone, continue to carry out tasks to liberate the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, the Zaporozhye and Kherson regions. Today, I would like to highlight two areas. The first is the line of responsibility of the Group Center. The troops of the 2nd and 51st Armies, advancing in the following directions, have encircled the enemy in the area of Krasnoarmeysk and Dmitrovo. A large group of the armed forces of Ukraine, consisting of 31 battalions, including the 25th Airborne, 79th Assault, and 68th Jaeger Brigades, 35th and 38th Marine Brigades, 425th Separate Assault Regiment, 153rd and 155th Mechanized Brigades. During the combat missions, the most distinguished were the soldiers of the 30th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade and the 439th Motorized Rifle Regiment of the 2nd Army, as well as the 9th and 110th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigades of the 51st Army, as well as the personnel of the Unmanned Technologies Center of Rubicon. The successful operation of encirclement of the enemy was facilitated by the complex fire strike by the armed forces of Ukraine on the entire depth of their operational structure, as well as the isolation of the area of hostilities in order to violate the uninterrupted supply of the enemy units. At present, the regrouping of the center is a no less important task to destroy the encirclement of the armed forces of Ukraine in the area of the Krasnoarmeyskaya-Dmitrovskaya agglomeration. Secondly, the direction of the encirclement of the Western troops is surrounded by the city of Kupyansk. At the same time, the assault squads of the 68th Motorized Rifle Division of the 6th Army, having made a bypass maneuver, seized the enemy's crossings across the Oskol River to the south of the city, and in cooperation with the 47th Motorized Rifle Division and the 27th Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 1st Tank Army, blocked the grouping of the armed forces of Ukraine on the left bank of the eastern Kupyansk. The encirclement is surrounded by the divisions of the 14th, 43rd, 116th Motorized Rifle Brigade of the enemy, as well as the 1st Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine. In total, there are 18 battle battalions. In addition, the formations of the Western troops continue to advance successfully in the direction of Krasnoarmeysk. The liberation of the Yampol settlement is coming to an end. The offensive actions are also being carried out in other directions. In the last 2 weeks, the northern troops have successfully advanced in the southern part of Volchansk. To date, more than 70% of the city has been liberated. The assault squads of the southern troops liberated the settlements of Dronovka and Plashivka and continue to conduct urban battles in Seversky and Konstantinovka. The units of the troops of the eastern troops are developing the offensive in Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhia regions. 6 settlements have been liberated. Comrade Commander-in-Chief, during the training of the strategic nuclear forces, the training and combat launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles, Yars and Sineva, and 2 cruise missiles of the H-102 airbase were carried out. The training was successful.
At the end of this part of our work, I would like to note that the successes of the Russian troops in the encirclement of the Krasnoarmeysk, Dmitrovsk allocation, and the city of Kupyansk, as well as the results of the combat missions in other areas, have certainly become possible thanks to the heroic actions of our soldiers, officers, sergeants, junior commanders, as well as the meticulous work of the headquarters and all levels of the leaders. I would like to congratulate the entire personnel of the Joint Group with these results. At the same time, as has already been noted, there is a lot of difficult work ahead of us to eliminate the enemy's encircled formations. In this regard, I would like to draw your attention to several points. First, in order to minimize unnecessary casualties, I ask you, as we did with you earlier, to take all necessary measures to ensure that the Ukrainian servicemen are taken prisoner. Those who, of course, wish to do this, you know better than anyone else that this is not so easy for the Ukrainian military because they are shot in the back and treated with drones from above, and those who try to surrender are destroyed. Nevertheless, on our part, this is natural, and we need to act in accordance with the norms of international law and the legislation of the archaic federation. The Russian army has historically always treated the defeated enemy with mercy, and we will continue to do so. We have discussed this with you more than once, and you have reported to me about various situations that have arisen in certain areas of the combat. I ask you to continue to act in the same way. And of course, in the course of combat work to clean up these territories, we need to do everything to ensure the safety of the civilian population, which the Ukrainian formations are covering with a live shield. Local residents should be provided with all the necessary assistance and measures to evacuate them to safe areas. The commanding group of troops must continue to carry out special military operations in accordance with the concept developed by the General Staff of the Armed Forces, while the priority task is to ensure the safety of the lives of our servicemen. We talk about this all the time, and I know how you feel about it. My approach is also known to you. We will not exaggerate any dates or events. We will always, as we have done so far, proceed with military expediency and put the safety of the lives of our servicemen first. As for the training of strategic offensive forces, we have once again confirmed the reliability of Russia's nuclear shield. Strategic forces are capable of ensuring the national security of the Russian Federation and the Soviet Union in full. We have already talked about this fact, which is well known to all military experts in the world. The so-called modernity of our armed forces, or rather the forces of nuclear deterrence, is at the highest level, or at least at the highest level, of all nuclear states. As for the exercise that was carried out, I would like to ask the Chief of Staff to report on another event, which I briefly mentioned in my introductory remarks. I am talking about the test of a cruise missile of unlimited range, the Burevestnik, with a nuclear power plant. I know that I have a report from the industry, and fortunately, the Ministry of Defense estimates that this is a unique product that no one in the world has. Moreover, I remember very well when we announced that we were developing such a weapon. Even experts of a very high level told me that this is a good, worthy weapon, but in the near future, it will not be implemented. This was the opinion of experts of a very high level. And now the decisive tests have been completed. There is still a lot of work to be done to put this weapon on duty. It is clear that all regulations need to be implemented. Nevertheless, the key tasks have now been achieved, as far as I understand, and I would like to hear the opinion of the Chief of Staff.
This test was carried out on October 21st. Indeed, unlike the previous tests, a multi-hour flight of the missile was carried out, during which it covered a distance of 14,000 kilometers. This is not a limit.
On a nuclear power plant?
On a nuclear power plant, yes. The technical characteristics of this weapon allow it to be used with guaranteed accuracy on high protected objects at any distance. In addition, during the flight of the missile, all vertical and horizontal maneuvers were carried out, thereby demonstrating its high capabilities of bypassing anti-aircraft and anti-missile defense.
How many kilometers?
14,000 kilometers.
How long was it in the air?
About 15 hours.
This is not a limit.
It is not a limit.
We will have to decide what this weapon is, what class it belongs to, what the new system is like. We need to determine possible applications and start preparing the infrastructure for the deployment of this weapon in our armed forces. As for the enemy in the regions you have just mentioned, there is no doubt that the enemy will try to unblock their groups from the outside and from the inside, to unblock them directly and to create conditions for this unblocking with the help of actions in the nearby regions. This is what we have done before. In this regard, I came here to listen to the opinion of the commanding troops. As you plan to do in the near future, taking into account the current situation, we will continue to work with the Green Army units.